So I tried really hard, Derek.
I
And
know.
you
I
know
see it
exactly
coming.
what we're
I see it
about to
coming.
talk about. I
Will
tried
Wolverine,
so
Dirt, y'all disappoint me, man. I'm so upset
y'all
you did this to me.
I tried so hard. So hard. Deshaun Watson has been cleared of his criminal charges. Breaking news. It's a clear-cut question here. Does he immediately become the option for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
So here's the deal.
Okay. I'm
um,
listening.
I'm going to separate this between football and non-football, which I know is impossible to do with Watson. The off the field stuff, disturbing, and I do not want to give off the impression that I'm trying to brush that aside.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's seriously concerning, regardless, guilty, non-guilty, whatever. Having said that, Deshaun Watson is a elite quarterback. Like, let's not play around here. Like, he's one of the five most talented. He's one of the most five talented guys at that position, and we know how important the quarterback position is. So, it is going to cost a king's ransom to get him. Probably 2 or 3 first round picks.
I've heard 3.
But if you're willing to accept the off the field stuff, he's worth 3 first round picks, in my opinion. If he stays clean, it's a no brainer because the dude's still pretty young. I think he's only like 26, 27.
26 years old.
26 years old.
That's 14 years left in the NFL at a quarterback.
One of the things about Watson that I think is really intriguing for the Steelers is if you're going to trade that type of compensation for somebody, it needs to be a quarterback that's capable of elevating the team around him.
Yes.
Watson can do that. He can play behind a bad offensive line. Like, he's going to be able to elevate the team. You give him, the right supporting cast and he stays out of trouble and you can keep this defense playing really well, you're going to have a very, very good team.
Oh, yeah. So you have Deshaun Watson. You pick up Deshaun Watson. This is how I view this. If you pick up Deshaun
Watson,
Watson,
picking him up. We're already picking him up.
It's already here. Like, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have been on the phone with the Houston Texans since 2:00 when he walked in the door, and I'm like, all right, well, we'll just hang out until we find out what's going on, and then we'll get off the phone here. And now moves are being made. If I'm Kevin Colbert, I'm offering 3 first round. I don't even care. What is the 20th pick? So a couple of things here. One, if you have Deshaun Watson, are you picking less than 20 in a season? No. Chances are you're not. The Houston Texans had a 24-point lead on the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason. The next season without Deshaun Watson, or I guess it was with Deshaun Watson, and then the year after that, absolute dumpster fire. You have Deshaun Watson, you're not picking less than 20. You're not in a million years finding Deshaun Watson in the first or after the first 20 picks of an NFL draft. It's just not happening. So there goes that. 2. If you have Deshaun Watson, you don't have to worry about quarterback anymore. So you have second round picks. You want to know where you find every other position in the draft? Not the first round. Just go out and fill your team. You're going to miss out on a TJ Watt and a Minka Fitzpatrick every now and then. I do understand that. But in 3 years, chances are you could not screw up in 3 years. I mean, you had Minka Fitzpatrick. The Pittsburgh Steelers somehow found Chase Claypool, which I get has not panned out to how they would like to, but still at the time. Go ahead.
I'm just going to call a timeout. Just to your point, I completely agree. Let me just make this very clear.
Yeah.
From a football standpoint, the cost does not matter. It does not matter when it comes to quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are worth their money in gold, okay? Like, you want sustained success in this league, get an elite quarterback. Look at what Ben did. Look at Rodgers. Look at Brady. You can go on and on. The best teams that win over a decade of time have great quarterbacks. The 3 first-round picks do not matter, okay? Because here's the deal. In the next 3 years with those first-round picks, you're going to be looking for a quarterback, okay?
That's what you're going to do.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It really comes down to, in my opinion, it comes down to this. Can you look past the off-the-field stuff? If you can and you don't care about that and you're comfortable with who he is as a person, as a leader in your organization, it is a no-brainer. No-brainer. Doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. You make the trade 10 times out of 10.
I agree. So this is why I think that the Steelers will do it. I'm going to start throwing will out there. I'm putting this right into the universe. So there are a couple of instances throughout our lifetime where an NFL player is a superstar, but his off the field stuff is just super concerning. So concerning that a lot of NFL teams don't want to touch him. But his value is so good that someone has to pick him up. Antonio Brown is a prime example. Okay. If you're going to send Deshaun Watson to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Art Rooney's the first person that's going to sit him down and talk to him and say, hey, man, look it. We need you to clear up this off the field stuff. Also, we're going to help you. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that you mentally can overcome whatever happened. You know what I mean? If Deshaun Watson has issues, and I hope that, I don't know, I'm not going to even dig my toe into the legal stuff. But if there are off the field things that need major concern, Art Rooney's going to sit him down and have a conversation with him and say, look, we're going to help. We are going to provide as much help as we possibly can to make sure that everyone involved is okay. I mean, there's not a lot of organizations out there that are going to do it. 2, do you believe in the Brian Flores effect? The Deshaun Watson wants to play for one coach, and that coach is a senior defensive assistant on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you, Mike Tomlin.
I don't know how much I buy into the Flores thing, just only because Flores is only going to be here a year or two. He's going to get another job, whether it's a defensive coordinator job. I really do think he'll bounce back on his feet. I don't know if he gets a head coaching job, though, because he's probably blacklisted from that. But one of the things about Watson that I want to point out, too, so Watson has a $35 million base salary for next season. Here is the list of teams that have that amount in cap space. The Colts, the Seahawks, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Jags. So the Colts and the Seahawks both need quarterbacks. Would they be willing to trade for Deshaun Watson? Who knows? Do they? Does Watson want to go there? Because keep in mind, Watson Watson can literally just tell Houston, "I have one option. I want to go to Pittsburgh. Send me to Pittsburgh," and then they work it out. Or he could say, here's a list of 3 teams. You guys take the best deal and let's roll. So $35 million. Now the Steelers, I think, are sitting at like $28 million. That was before the Killebrew signing, which will barely move the needle because replacement value, it's probably gonna be like $27 million. You can easily clear. I mean, they could restructure Watt and Hayward and clear that $35 million, and Watson's on the books, and you're good to go. Now, granted, that will limit what they can do in free agency, and then you're going to lose draft picks. So, he's the big piece. I mean, you're adding him to the roster, and then you're going to be trying to find value at other places. Maybe you have to get really creative about, free agents that you sign with void years. Colbert kind of indicated that he didn't want to really do that anymore. But yeah, the Steelers are one of the very few teams that A, need a quarterback, B, have the means to acquire one. So yeah, I mean, it could happen. I don't want to say it's going to happen definitely happen.
Will happen. Okay, so you might know this list better than anybody. If Deshaun Watson does come to the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're now very limited on free agents, where do you turn to? Because you still got to make moves. You can't, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can't just trade for Deshaun Watson and say, all right, we're done. You still got to go out in free agency, try to do something.
Yeah. So even with Watson, I really do think Watson's very good to great quarterback. I do think that there's obviously holes because they're not a quarterback away. You don't put Deshaun Watson on this roster and then automatically say yeah, they're going to the Super Bowl, because they're not. Couple of things that I would look at doing. I would try to get Edmonds and Ahkello Witherspoon both back on decent deals. If you can get them back, between $4 and $5 million a year, and you can structure it away with a big signing bonus to where you can spread that out over 3 years or something like that, I would do that in a heartbeat to keep that cap hit down for next year. So that fills 2 of your holes. I mean, you still have to add another corner. You'd probably want to do that on day 2 of the draft. And then you're going to have to go bargain bin shopping on the offensive line. The good thing about the offensive line class, I will say this, it is a good class for interior offensive linemen late in the draft. Guys like Chasen Himes, who they've had a formal visit with, I'll continue to mention his name, Ed Ingram's name. I think both of the LSU guards make a ton of sense if they make it to day 3, because I really do think that they can play from day 1. I'm not saying they're superstars, but I think that they can play from day 1. They're ready, especially if Hines can control his weight. Ingram's a really good player. He's got some off-the-field stuff, too, that they'd have to sort through. But This is a good interior offensive line class for the most part. The guard position, I think, probably is the strongest in the draft in terms of offensive line. So, yeah, I mean, you have to go bargain bin shopping some places. But, look, again, quarterbacks are so hard to find. And if you have the opportunity to acquire one, you do it 100% of the time. Like, there is no other argument. I don't care about any other argument. You do it 100%.
Is this the most realistic situation we've seen so far? We've ran through a lot of quarterbacks here, Derek. A lot of quarterbacks.
It's like a nightmare that I just keep having to play. Honestly, if it gets to the point where I don't have to talk about potentially a draft quarterback or a free agent quarterback again, let's do the damn thing and just send four picks. I don't care.
Yeah, well, then we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson and his impact on the Steelers every single day for the next 10 years.
Hey, I'm good with that. I like to defend the quarterback, so I'm good with that. But I don't know about realistic, man. We'll see. Well, I mean, tonight we'll have reports from Rapp and Schefter and probably a bunch of other dudes saying, this team's interested. This team's interested. I mean, you'll have to follow the breadcrumbs. I do. I think somebody Steel Wolverine put this in the comments saying it's going to be a few days max. If his legal stuff is completely if it's completely solved, and I've been on here, so I don't know. But if it's completely solved, then he'll be moved very soon. It won't. So
I'm keeping up somewhat on Twitter here while we're doing this. I'm also trying to type an article and do the whole thing. It's been complicated 20 minutes for me. 22 lawsuits still pending. So I guess that they could, but they would all be civil charges. None of them would be criminal charges. So it would be, I mean, Le'Veon Bell's smoking a blunt with LeGarrette Blount in the car type situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that situation, because here's the deal too, just with how fast I think things will go. Houston has him on the books for an enormous cap charge.
Oh, it's like $48 million or $60 million or something.
So that $35 million, they can clear that off the books immediately. So they want that going into free agency because they're in rebuild mode. So they're trying to get guys. They're going to be spenders in free agency because they're going to have a good amount of cap room after they deal him, and then they're going to need to get their draft plans together. So they're going to need to figure out what's going to happen with that, what kind of picks they're working with. Then you start to look at strategy, like, okay, what could we address here? How's the board going to fall? If they add the 20th pick in the draft, what would we be looking like prospect wise there? So they're going to want that figured out soon. That's why I think it's going to happen quick.
It's definitely going to happen quick. This is a good point too. Steel Wolverine tossed out there. He could still face suspension from the league. Nothing crazy, but you do have to take that into consideration. I mean, what's 6 games for, the next 4 years, but
6 games reduced to 4 is what it'll be.
That's exactly what it'll be. It's exactly, which is nothing. I mean, Ben's done that twice.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That doesn't do any. Actually, didn't the Steelers win a Super Bowl the year
that he was suspended?
One of them. Yeah. Right. That was the 6 to 4 games. And I think he served all 6.
No, he got his reduced to 4. That's why I said that.
4?
It's going to be 6 to 4.
6 to 4, and then they're going to go win a Super Bowl. And I'm just tossing it out there. The word is now will. All right. I won't